I'm not lying to you when I tell you that Death Stranding is definitely the weirdest game I've ever played. Not only the game itself, but also my feelings towards it. In the past 5 years, I've heard a lot about this game, good and bad. I've seen confusing cryptic visuals and heard about awkward lines, and recently I finally got the chance to play it. So let's keep the intro short and jump right into how it was, because I really want to start talking about it. Death Stranding is a post-apocalyptic Hideo Kojima game with invisible dead people, delivering packages, super babies, the president who is God, flying whales, beach realms, and World War I. Out of all of these, my favorite part was delivering the packages, mostly because it's the simplest part about the game. There's no plot exposition, there's no crazy twists, you just trek across America with your little baby. There's countless gorgeous vistas and scenery to see while exploring. The post-apocalyptic landscape is so beautiful when the sun is shining onto a little stream. Sometimes I just put on some music or a YouTube video while walking and just relax, and sometimes there'd be songs playing for me. This simple yet effective style of gameplay where you just give the players a destination and have them go, gave me some of my most relaxing moments while playing a game. Although, when walking there are certainly some issues you come across, some deliberate and some not. On top of chunky terrain, you'll come across BT fields and mule territory and timefall. All of these are really annoying, especially the mules. I don't understand why there are people out there that just like stealing packages for the hell of it. They don't even sell them, they just do it for fun. Sometimes there'll be a mission where you have to go get a package from the mule storage, but if you get caught before sneaking up to it, which is highly likely, you just have to run around in a circle with 15 guys chasing you, hoping that the spear guys will stop camping at the storage so that I can open it up in time. And if you don't need something from the storage box and just happen to be passing through, you have to book cross country going side to side, hoping that no spear hits you for 5 minutes until you reach the other side. The BT fields are also a bit annoying, but at least there's some cool horror elements to it. And if you're caught, chances are you'll be able to shake your way out of them. When it comes to the train, I've seen a lot of clips of it bugging out on people or not quite working as intended, and luckily that didn't really happen to me. There were a couple times that I'd trip over a tiny rock or something, but I'd never fall down a ledge and all my packages come loose and start rolling down the mountain. There's also a lot of different equipment you can bring, like guns, boots, ladders, gloves, and stuff, but I only ever found myself needing boots because you have to wear them. I was never in an unscripted situation in which I needed to shoot something. Everything that could be shot I could evade, and pretty much every run can be done without any of the fancy gear. The motorcycle was really useful though. There would be times when it would halt on every single pebble, but in the long run it was still faster than just walking. One thing I find funny about the walking aspect is that the whole map of Death Stranding is the United States of America, but it takes about an hour to walk from one end to the other. I obviously know that actually making a 2-scale map of the US would be impossible, but I just found it funny when I made a 10-minute run and it shows I crossed 2 states worth of ground. Even though the package delivering does have some hiccups, all in all, it was a really enjoyable way to cool down and just chill for a while. But delivering is only half of the game. The other half is the story. Here's where it gets crazy. Now in this story half of the game, we also find ourselves splitting the story in two different halves. The good character-focused half, and the bad over-explaining half. There is a fuck ton of lore in this universe, and it does not wait for you to keep up. I think it'd be viable if a game revolved around a single concept in here, like just a post-apocalypse or just BTs. Maybe then by the end it makes sense, but there was just so much shit in here. You can just tell Hideo Kojima was given unrestricted access to the story, and he goes full wet dream. There were two wolves inside of him, one telling him to make a dictionary worth of complicated storytelling, and another one telling him to make a good personal story. That second wolf was right, because there was some really good character stuff in here. Typically in these types of games, you get your lone gruff character doing everything, while there's a bunch of one-dimensional assholes calling you up every once in a while to give you information. And at the start, that is what it seemed like was happening. But there were these episodes, and in each episode, it explores a different character. You get up close and personal with them, you see their dark sides. You find out that Mama has a dead BT as her child, and Hartman kills and revives himself 60 times a day, and Fragile saved his city from being blown up. They have these goofy names like Deadman and Die Hardman. I heard about Die Hardman before playing, and I thought it was a joke. Die Hardman? Like the movie? But then when you go to play it, you're like, oh, Die Hardman. Sam, who is broken and detached, starts warming up to them, and by the end you think he's changed, but then he says,
I've got no ties to anyone or anything. I might as well be dead. I felt like that when we first met in the cave. I still do.
This game does some nonsensical shit. The actors for the characters do a phenomenal job, but there are some lines in here that cannot be salvaged.
You are damaged goods.
When I heard that, I tried saying it loud in different ways to see if there was any not stupid way to deliver the line, and nope, there's none. Amelie once said this.
Like Mario and Princess Peach.
I was fucking taken aback by this. Who thought that that was a good idea? Just kidding, I know it was you, Kojima. There's boss fights in here, where you just shoot a giant muck creature for 15 minutes with a rocket launcher. There's 3 times you're transported to a battlefield and you have to fight soldiers in a game clearly not built for shooting at all. Each time Cliff comes in, he has this badass intro, but by the second and third time it becomes silly because why is he acting all cool if I keep kicking his ass? Higgs was a cool villain, but you never once figure out his motivation. I still don't know what the fuck a beach is, I don't know what an extinction entity is. Was Bridget elected president because she was an extinction entity? Or was it the world's most insane coincidence? This bad half of the story, where you're left with such confusion, ends up overshadowing that other half. When you have a game with so much complexity, you have to choose whether to put all your cards in explaining the story or the world. But they try to do both, and end up making the whole experience worse. How the game should have been is like The Last of Us, where it's a zombie shooting game, but it's not about zombies or shooting. It's about these characters and their place in the world. Zombies were in the show like 3 times in 8 episodes. If Hideo Kojima made The Last of Us, there'd be a huge section about the government finding out what the virus is and where it came from, and then another section about using Ellie's blood to kill them, and another one about Bill Hardman. And mixed in there, we'd have Ellie and Joel's journey. And in this alternate reality Last of Us, since the characters didn't take center stage, the game wasn't as good as it was. I understand that the universe of Death Stranding is a lot more complicated than Zombieland, albeit by the courtesy of Hideo, but there is still a way to present the ideas in here without making the player feel like they're falling down a rabbit hole, because at a certain point, a lot of people are just gonna give up. So at this point, it sounds like I despise this game with every fiber of my being, and to tell you the truth, I don't know. As I said, my feelings towards this game are weird because there are moments in here that fucking suck, but there are others I truly adore. Walking across America delivering packages was some of the best vibes I ever got from a game. I love a game that allows me to give myself a break from taking down impossible bosses and just let me progress by holding down both triggers and admiring the scenery. On top of that, that good half of the game has some amazing story moments. Sam as a character is very Arthur Morgan-like, where he's tough and reserved, and his development comes from going through the game for tens of hours, and every so often you learn something new about him so that by the end you're endeared. The Cliff Unger plotline seems so inconsequential as you go through the game and see these random memories, but then by the end, you understand the full picture in this 10-minute long cutscene with this heartfelt moment where Sam saves BB from the fire and tries to bring him back to life, ultimately giving him a chance to raise himself the way he never was. For real, this entire game should have been the last episode, where you're not focused on any dumb lore stuff, it's just about the characters. Plus, BB's theme when you're walking to the incinerator is so good. And now you see why it's hard for me to land on how I feel about this game. If you asked me if I recommend it, yes, if you're a pretty hardcore gamer. It's not going to be anything like you've ever played, so it's going to be a really cool experience. But if you only got 20 games to play in your whole life, then no, unless it sounds really appealing to you. This is a long-ass game, so get ready to put a lot of time into it, and take it in little strides. I beat the last 8 episodes in one day, and that was a terrible idea. Now, if you put a gun to my head and maybe score it, I'd have to go with a B. It has too many dumb moments for me to give it a B+, but enough great ones for me not to bring it down to a B-. As I marinate on it, or when Death Stranding 2 comes out, it might change. That's happened a couple times with games, but for now, I like where it stands. In summary, Death Stranding was a really interesting time. That is one of the most complicated games I've ever played. So many games are black and white for me, and it's nice to have some in that love-hate category. In some ways, they're more endearing than a game I like more. Even so, I hope On the Beach is not like this. I need a break from all the thinking.